the economy is always front and center in general elections, especially presidential elections. So we want to bring in our Director of Policy, Harry Hutchison, because, Harry, one thing that popped for a lot of people, and they might not understand, and I'm sure that's why Harris said it that way, was that she announced she's going to give a $50,000 tax credit to anybody who starts a small business. And everybody's thinking around the table, then, you know what? I might as well start a small business, because even if it doesn't do well, maybe I spend a few $1,000s. Well, can I keep the other $47,000? Or I could do something pretty wild, a passion project, if you will, and I'm going to be okay. That's not how tax credits work.
Precisely. So virtually everyone knows that Kamala Harris knows virtually nothing about economics or the economy. And last night she proved that by focusing on tax credits. Tax credits only work when and if you make money, and then you have a credit that you can apply against your income. So 50% of all small businesses in the United States fail in the first 5 years. None of those businesses would be eligible for Kamala Harris's tax credit. 20% of small businesses fail in the first year alone. So I think if you really drill down, you find that most small businesses would not be eligible for the Kamala Harris tax credit. And so one of the things to keep in mind is her proposal will do virtually nothing to jumpstart the economy. And so one of the things that we should think about is the comparison between Kamala Harris's promises after she's been in office for 3.5 years versus what Donald Trump delivered in 4 years in office with respect to the economy. Real wages rose by 15%. How do you do that? You grow the economy, you grow jobs, but you do not impose a tax on the American people in the form of inflation, which is precisely what the Biden-Harris regime has done. So again, Kamala Harris, at the end of the day, shows she doesn't know what she's doing, particularly in the realm of economics.
Look, we've got bites to play. We've pulled them for people because I know it's tough when it's an hour and a half. Actually, we put to about an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And they said there were going to be 2 commercial breaks, but they took one about after like an hour. But the last commercial break wasn't until they came back just for the closing statement. So, I mean, it was long.
Yeah, I started tapping out, I'll be honest.
You couldn't run to put your kids to sleep. You couldn't run to grab something from the kitchen if you were trying to follow everything. Maybe you pause it, things like that. So a lot of people are going to get their news about this debate this morning, especially our listeners. I think a lot of them probably did tune in, but their friends who they'll be talking to likely didn't. And so they're going to see whatever news source they go to is really going to give them the idea of what to take away from the debate. And I think this is when, we have the sound from Harris on her passion about small businesses, like Harry just discussed. This is how you mislead voters right off the bat with a policy that sounds like you're giving them free money. Let's play it. Bite 6.
My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit.
Yeah, okay. So, Harry, just break that down for people. This idea, again, that Donald Trump only wants tax cuts for the rich, I don't think that's how American workers felt when he came into office. Pre-COVID, the economy was booming. People felt good. Interest rates were extremely low. People were buying homes. They were able to purchase their first home. They were even purchase second homes. They were moving up in their home market. They were selling their first home, buying a bigger home. They were able to have more cash in their pockets, spend more on travel, and again, more on, as she likes to talk about, small businesses and her passions. So she tries to make it sound like these $50,000 tax deductions and credits that are going to somehow spur all of these passion projects and small businesses to be able to pop up all over America instead of just benefiting millionaires and billionaires, who, by the way, are the vast majority of people in the non-government sector. Those millionaires and billionaires employ most people, and a lot of those millionaires are small business owners.
Harris essentially offered platitudes. She talked about her passion. Well, her passion and her platitudes neither grow the economy or put food on the table. By contrast, stark contrast, the inflation rate during the Trump administration was much lower. Everyone remembers how low interest rates were during the Trump administration, notwithstanding the attack lines that Kamala Harris delivered last night. And the final point I would make is that if this was such a wonderful idea and it was such a wonderful policy, why didn't she implement this policy 3.5 years ago? Why is she waiting until she runs for office to announce and support this policy when she had the capability of announcing this policy on January the 20th, 2021?
One of the things I think that was pretty interesting was you saw her distance herself from President Biden, maybe for the first time as clearly. Because I feel like in the last times we've seen her interviewed, she's like, of course, I'm part of the team, I'm the vice president, his policies are my policies. But in this instance, he brought it up and she specifically said, you're not running against Joe Biden. Yeah. Almost threw Joe Biden under the bus publicly.
When in fact, policy-wise, you are.
Pretty much exactly the same.
She is the vice president currently of Joe Biden. She cannot run away as much as she would like to. But the media didn't fact check her there. They didn't stop her there and say, but you have been there, like President Trump said, for 3.5 years. Why did you not bring this idea to Joe Biden, these tax credits, so that the economy could improve if you really believe it would, and bring inflation numbers down? Why hold all these policies until now if you're supposed to be an advisor to the president? I mean, take a listen to President Trump on these ideas that Harris kept throwing out without a plan.
She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Logan, you went through that plan that day that those policy plans went up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they were pretty generic, and a lot of them were. We know from the metadata.
And yes, a lot
they
of
were copied and pasted right from Joe Biden. So she says she's not Joe Biden, but her policy page is.
But we do want to encourage you to also, after you saw last night what we are up against, you saw how unfair it was. You saw the work they've been doing to really undermine a lot of the work that we're doing here in the ACLJ.
Yeah, we have big fights coming up, and the deck is stacked against all of us. We're going to need your support to help us protect your rights and freedoms. Please become an ACLJ champion and make a monthly recurring gift at aclj.org/champions. We're fighting the Biden-Harris weaponization of government against our colleague Tulsi Gabbard and other conservatives. With a 4th round of FOIAs coming up, we're fighting a Kamala-inspired attack on pro-life centers in Massachusetts. We're battling the radical left's attack on school choice with a major court filing at Ohio Supreme Court late last night.